politics. This is douglAR politics, yo. douglAR politics. Listen, douglAR politics, yeah. douglAR politics. This is douglAR politics, yeah. douglAR politics. This is douglAR politics. douglAR politics. This is douglAR politics, yo. douglAR politics.
Fine. Technical difficulties just now. We coming back. Check. Check one. All right. Go back and rewind, man. douglAR politics. Good evening and welcome to douglAR politics. A little false start there. Olympics coming. You cannot false start again in swimming and track and field. You'll be disqualified. Cricket in a total shambles. A treasurer, an accountant, a professional saw that money was missing, saw no accountability, saw no substantiating documents, reported it to the fraud squad, the authorities, and then this man, Abbasarat, who's a PNM, called a vote of no confidence to pressurize the treasurer who did his job. That song familiar? Does that song like something that is taking place now between the Ministry of Finance, the Minister of Finance, the DWEN, the PNM run by this Rowley, and the Auditor General with the lying Attorney General Limo? Does it sound similar? Well, that's correct, because once a PNM, all a PNM from the leader come down, all are rotten. So when I hear Central Zone cricketers saying they want the government to intervene to fix TTCB, pressure is mounting on the Trinidad and Tobago Cricket Board as calls for change are now coming from all over. The Central Zone is calling on the government to bring in and rein in the Cricket Board. But the government is who the Cricket Board following. So you call in the real criminals, the real gangsters to fix the baby gangsters? No. All you have to change that constitution, all you have to change them, all you have to use the constitution to vote out this man and his crew. But do you know how hard that is? Them that start, you know, normally elections, you start on zero, the incumbents give up and you have a returning officer and so on to do the election. In the cricket board, them who they just get a vote, so them must start off at 12 vote. And the other side who challenging, they start off at 0. And them say that is democracy, yes? But I PNM. So you can't have the PNM government to fix PNM corruption in cricket. It's them they following. And the next thing you know, Basarat might be the next minister of PNM sport. But I ain't gonna happen because election coming and no more PNM. Badminton and tennis collide for use of racket center. Well, this is because it was never a racket center. It's a high billet under Kamla Prasad Bisesa and the UNC. It was a tennis center. It was never a racket center. It was not meant for everybody to share. There were other facilities like at Etihad Ground where netball would have had 6 air-conditioned courts, squash would have had their own courts, badminton would have had their own courts, table tennis would have had their own national table tennis center. That was the vision of Kamla Prasad Bisesa. The PNM take Kamla Tennis Center for lawn tennis, for development of sport tourism and development of the sport of tennis in Trinidad and Tobago, call it a racket center, make racket, and now all the sports fighting up because of scheduling problems. That is because the PNM does not care about sport. As I say, don't care about sport. Let me take off my glasses so they say. This is the most critical time in sports in the whole world. elite athletes who have dedicated their lives and sacrificed everything they have. Their families, their family time, their quality time. They've put all into going to the Olympics. Well, that is the tennis center, you see. That's not a racket center. Tennis, you see lawn tennis? Tennis. You know who was supposed to come and open that? Agassi playing Sampras and so on with McEnroe and do commentary and pack there with children. Now it's like a ghost town. Even tennis players and coaches have to beg, borrow, steal, plead to use a tennis center built with the people money by Kamla Prasad Bisesa. And the PNM take that and call it a racket center. And inside, they turn one of the indoor tennis courts into an area where you could put temporarily badminton court on top of tennis court. And they call it a racket center. And now it has scheduling problems, so children had to fight up. That is PNM incompetence. But then furthermore, this period in the world, everybody is preparing for Paris. We Paris, Olympics, the greatest of the greats getting in all sporting disciplines, getting ready. This is the last key period for Olympic team selection globally. Athletes are trying to qualify for the Olympics. They need to train. They need to put everything into perfection, because you could do all the groundwork, all the fitness, work the energy systems, train hard, do the intensity, lactic acid cycle, get powerful in the gym. But then it comes down to pacing, to timing, to race preparation, being specific, when to mash gas. Even if you're running 100 meters up to 3,000, 5,000 on the track, you need to run on the track. You need to make your qualifying times. Hasely Crawford Stadium to be closed for more repairs. The Hasely Crawford Stadium in Mukrapo will be closed from July for the relaying of a new athletic Mondo track and recertification of its track. And it was just closed earlier last year for Commonwealth Games. So all our athletes, one, we don't have a certified track. So any athletes who need to qualify for Olympics and so on have to go outside. They have to go Grenada. Grenada have a beautiful certified 1A track. When Kamla had a Minister of Sport, our track was certified 1A because it was maintained and kept up to the marks. You have to measure everything, pristine computer measurement, put the paint, the lines and so on. PNM let everything go to the dogs. Shamfa walk in with she high heel. And when Shamfa walk on a track on a high heel, you know that high heel could drill for oil. So understand how much damage on that track, right? That PNM. And down, talking more PNM, down here in the south, I hear the SWRHA. Now we know about the Northwest Regional Health Authority in a mess. 21 babies dead. Them frightened to investigate. They want to investigate themselves. But I am hearing there's a Dr. Armour. I don't know if he related to Limo, you know. I hear there's a Dr. Armour there put by Terence Convangil, Minister of Death, Dial Singh, who is causing havoc in the SWRHA. He knows nothing about running a major general hospital, big hospital. All of the consultants and the specialists are upset. I'm investigating that to see really and truly, because this cannot continue. You all feel politics is some kind of game. It's not no game. And while babies dying, people suffering, no Panadol, rat running in the hospital, nurses overworked, underpaid, doctors underpaid, pressurized by Davlin Thomas and people this man put in charge. The health sector in a mess. He doing video about his garden and showing yellow flower because he dreams. We don't want you, boy. We don't want dunce. We don't want dotish. We don't want arrogant. So do your video about a red flower. He put in a video about flower. And he also last week, he put up a video about, what he name? Brian Armour, this clown. I hear he's the worst thing in history. I'm going to investigate. I'm getting statements from nurses, orderly, security guard, doctor, junior doctor, senior doctor, patients. Because this man is obnoxious, but like once you're a PNM, in order to qualify as a PNM, you have to start off discourteous, obnoxious, and ridiculous. I don't know if we have it. Minister that had put up, do a fountain video. I don't know if I laugh. It was supposed to show last week. This man gone in Woodford Square, in front of the Parliament, doing a video as a minister of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago for the world to see, and boasting about the fountain. And the fountain is working, the fountain empty, the fountain dry. Run it. Watch this idiot.
Hi, TikTokers. So, Terrence here on the way to Parliament. So I thought I'll drop into Woodford Square. I've posted up the picture of the history of Woodford Square, named after Sir Ralph Woodford. And I'm here by the fountain. Look at this lovely fountain. This fountain was erected in 1566. That is the history of Trinidad and Tobago. So I just thought I'll share these bits of history of Woodford Square and this fountain.
He read a sign and tell me the history of the fountain I walk in. The whole world watching to look for water. What does make a fountain? That pick like concrete, boy. That is not a fountain. For something to be a fountain, it has to have water. No, I laughing, but I should not be laughing. That is the Minister of Health at the PNM. All you vote for PNM, right? Because all this they don't like Indian. That's an Indian and a dirty shit. The amount of bright Indian it have. It have bright Indian, Dr. Bright men who doing physics, chemistry, biology, art, maths, and things are getting A's upon A's. All you find are dunce and then telling me about race. That is the man in charge of the health sector, boasting about a dry fountain. He had no shame. He didn't know what is we watchwords. He didn't know what is we national anthem. But he come to educate me on something he read a sign. And so dirty she didn't even know fountain need water. A beautiful fountain. Some concrete. It's best I'd show you the steps. Doctor gets court permission to pursue U.S. studies. Imagine a doctor, a young doctor, right? Cicharan, want to specialize, want to get brighter, want to become exceptional. He's a scholarship winner. And when you win scholarships, you have to give some service back. That's fine, that's great, to your country. But the man say getting scholarship to go outside, paid for outside. And the PNM say, no, you can't go and get brighter. You have to stay here and suffer and do work as a junior. And when you finish that, then you could do what you want. Well, the man had to go to court and blow him away. And who he went and get? Anand Ram Logan. That's how the PNM has no idea. The man never say he don't want to do his service. He say he going and specialize. And when he come back, you still have service. So you now have more valuable service to the people because you now have a specialist consultant, a specialist doctor. But not PNM. PNM moves scholarship down to merit, down to beg and lick K-Packs to get, right? They have no scholarship, they have bursary. Look at him here, this brilliant doctor. Anyway, he win the case. No money for medical experts. NWRHA says, no money to pay for medical experts to find out why 21 babies died in a cluster. But the PNM have money to pay for a building with Rowley favorite contractor NH Elias and use the Milshove model where they take the state land, let NH get a loan, NH build the building, and then the PNM tell you, the taxpayers, they want more property tax from, and they cannot account for your money, that you all have to pay back at least per month. And when you multiply it out for the 18 years, you're paying $240 million more than the building worth. That is PNM mathematics, and them just call other people thief. So they have a big fancy nice building, and the last time I checked in that nice building, you know, PAHO get an office in that ministry office building, and it's PAHO who investigating the ministry. Or they find that some independent. But the PNM say they have no money to pay no independent people to investigate why our children dead. Our children dead under PNM control, and the PNM will tell us why they dead, and obviously they will say it's not them fault. And that's what we accept. Only dip your finger now. Because politics are a game, right? Yellow versus red. Manchester United versus Liverpool in there. Awake it, and Forex shortage slows Hadid's expansion. This brilliant store, I had to take my daughter there. I think all the children like this store. It's some kind of Japanese store that like a Hello Kitty thing, but You get it at good prices and all the children love it, right? So my daughter went there and had a ball. She know what she wanted. She know about she had to tell me what it is me. I didn't know nothing, right? But despite recently opening the flagship Miniso store at the Falls West Mall, founder and CEO of First Retail Inc., Omar Hadid, says the company's local growth will now be slowed as the foreign exchange forex problem continues to be very challenging. We can no longer supply ourselves with adequate forex and we are focusing on regional growth. This our businessmen, our entrepreneurs, our bright ones who trying to generate jobs and create business in Trinidad and Tobago are stifled by the PNM stupidity, by the Dwayne stupidity, by Rowley's stupidity, by Smallpin's stupidity, by the lack of diversifying the economy, by the lack of policy, by destroying what existed. The PNM is so rotten. If they left the economy on its own, we would have been better off without our government. US 30 million oil spill claim, says Smallpin Young. And then Young says vessel owners could be rogues. Yes, Smallpin, you now know that. Let's hear from this Energy Minister, Stuart Smallpin Young, who raised her girl for 10 years and then when she get in trouble say, me ain't know that not my child. Energy Minister Stuart Young says, government has been advised by some of its international partners that the owners of 2 vessels involved in the February 7th oil spill off Tobago's southeast coast could be members of a group of rogue vessel owners who breach international maritime laws with impunity. Young added that evidence before the government at this time shows the owners of these vessels have no affiliation with TNT. He made these comments at a press conference. But wait, Smallpin, you now know that they have rogue owners of vessels that are operating with impunity in the Caribbean Sea, switching off transponders, moving cargo, trying to evade authorities, fabricating documentation from different points, using pristine locations to launder fuel and oil. You now know about that, Smallpin? So you wasn't aware of this when you was Minister of National Security, letting Del Sea land and the Aldan reach and the Aldan in Venezuela and it come in and Paria Lake pass out and documents were created. Remind this clung about what took place now. Remind it I think I'd sum it up at a press conference. Run it. Stuart Young confessed in the Senate and it's on answer that the discussions and the relationship with Venezuela since 2016 on drag and gas necessitated and facilitated a visit by Vice President Delcy Rodriguez on March 27, 2020, while the borders were locked down, to come to meet face-to-face with the Prime Minister Keith Rowley, with himself, the Minister of National Security, on matters of drag and gas, oil and gas, and they were PDVSA oil officials on the plane. Venezuela was under sanction. February 27th. Keith Rowley in his press conference when he was stuttering and telling untruths, he couldn't get the date right of when Delcy asked, and he said, well, she had just been appointed in March, and then Stuart Young had to tell him, no, February 27th, she had been appointed as some head of the COVID committee. But you know why February 27th is a very important day? That was the day a vessel called the Manolatis, during sanctions, remember, if there are no sanctions, this is not very interesting, but the USA had put sanctions, tight sanctions on Venezuela, and Venezuelan gas, oil, no one was to do business with them. The Manolatis ship of Italy, in Italy, was filled with 321,000 barrels of fuel, with its destination being Pointe-à-Pitre. But the paperwork, the consignee, the owner of the fuel was Shell. And Shell, you have a lot of questions to answer. And in the drag and gas deal right now, the negotiations are between Trinidad and Tobago, Stuart Young and Rowley. Maduro and Delcy and Shell. The paperwork said Shell because in Europe they don't make joke with their paperwork. As the ship traveled towards Pointe-à-Pierre, and I asked Shell, how come, why was the gas coming to Pointe-à-Pierre? Who in Pointe-à-Pierre was the gas for? Was it for Paria? We don't see any documentation whatsoever. But midway through the Atlantic, miraculously, the gas changed to Trafigura PTE. Delcy Rodriguez arrived on March 27. The Manolates docked just after that. And simultaneously, as Delcy Rodriguez left Trinidad and Tobago, a ship called the Aldan left Venezuela, came across to Pointe-à-Pierre, and loaded fuel from Paria. The Manolates, 200,000 barrels were offloaded. So 121,000 barrels remained on the Manolates. We asked the officials of Shell, where did that fuel go? Whose fuel was that? The 121,000 barrels that were left on board. And what and how did Shell fuel become Trafigura fuel? Did Trafigura pay Shell for that fuel? Shell must answer. I asked then Minister of Energy Franklin Kahn in October in the Senate, how much fuel, was purchased in April, only April, because we had heard about this 148,904 barrels and so on. How much was purchased from Trafigura PTE by Paria? And on Hansard, Franklin Kahn said 1.2 million barrels. That is at about approximately 100 US per barrel. You do the maths. 1.2 million barrels in 1 month. Nearly 100 million US in work that was not sanctioned. So we call on the Auditor General. We call on the FIU. We call on the Ministry of Finance public officials to do an audit. We call for the police to do a forensic audit of Paria. Was the money spent? Was the money spent? Was the money received? What was the position? What was the profit? Where did the money go? And where has the money gone? From this discussion that came about when Delcy Rodriguez was allowed to come into Trinidad and Tobago by Keith Christopher Rowley, as Stuart Young told us, that he asked Rowley and Rowley approved, and he did the exemption for Delcy Rodriguez, PDVSA official. That's one, right? That's one. So this one here, pretending they know about rogue vessels, Wilmer Ruperti, Maduro, Delcy, Rowley, Small Pin, Newman George of Paria. But you know one thing I like? There is nothing better to debate than a complete dunce who is also arrogant. And look at Exhibit A. A complete total dunce who's also arrogant. Why? Because when they dotish and arrogant, that combination, they believe their lies and they're so dumb they put it on paper. This idiot called Stuart Smallpin Young did a 2-page op-ed entitled "The Truth About Petrotrin and Its Restructuring." Well, thank you, dum-dum. I am now going to show the people, by going through your nonsense and your lies and your misstatements, your untruths and your concoction, not only how dishonest you are, how incompetent you are, and that's why the people are suffering, the economy is suffering, the energy sector is at its lowest ebb possible. Let's go through what this Stuart Smallpin Young was so dumb to put down on paper. He wanted to start by saying that it's unfortunately become increasingly apparent that a complete disregard for facts and truth by certain public interests exists. This is a gentleman who came to politics because he defended the email gate liar Keith Rowley. When Keith Rowley came with pieces of paper concocted that he had kept for 6 months, this was his attorney. He did so well defending Rowley, the pathological liar, that he became liar-in-chief number 2. This one is now talking about the truths. This one is the one who swore on the Bible to do the people work. And his brother moved from 0 public sector work to $4.2 billion. This is the one who, when he talking about, oh, Delcy Rodriguez, I didn't know when she came to talk COVID. I didn't know it was a sanction. Jet, I don't drill down. This one who's talking about truth. This is the one who said that UNC paying criminals to kill people so the PNM will look bad. This disgusting pathological liar said that. So let's now analyze. I have about 17 points that he made that I'm going to destroy. He said, publication of inaccurate and misleading information can be harmful to the public interest when we rely on the media for information to guide our decision making. That is the only true thing he said. Remember, I told you that the mass media, the Guardian, the Express, the Newsday, TV6, CNC3, 13 radio stations, that they fill your head with perception. He understands that. That's what the PNM understand. But hear the truth. Those mass media outlets are PNM. They push nonsense into your brain. So while you feel you have more money in your pocket because Kamala leave the fuel subsidy, while you feel you have more money in your pocket and your money could buy more when you go to the grocery under Kamala because she have an agricultural plan and she remove VAT off 7,000 items, when you dig in your pocket and you feel that you have more money because Kamala give you a laptop and save you 5,000 per child per laptop, and then Kamala and Tim Gopi Singh give you 133 million in textbooks per year when your children in school, when you dip in your pocket and you see that you have extra money because you're not busting your tire and mashing up your car on mad bad road when Suraj Rambachan and Jack Warner had your roads moving smooth, when you turn on your tap and you have more money in your pocket because water flowing in your house 24/7 at 74% because Kamala was there. What the mass media does is say, but them Indian thief, UNC thief. PNM is trying to say that the UNC thief so much, more than O'Halloran, Privat, more than Tesoro, more than Dr. Williams, more than what Gene Miles is talking about, more than any financial complex, Carani Racing Complex, more than in Mount Hope, more than Churchill Roosevelt, more than Project Pride, more than TGU plan, more than all this PNM corruption across the board, more than Bridgemans, more than APT James, more than Cutlass Vessels, more than Malcolm Jones and Petrotrin. And the media portrays that. He now come to say that the media tells untruths. The people who lie is the PNM. He went on, he wants to set the record straight now on Petrotrin and the closure. Let me first of all tell you all that what they said, what he said, what Rowley said, what Franklin Kahn said, take your mind back. They said that they're not closing Petrotrin, first and foremost. We run that video for me just to remind the people, because that was the first lie under the PNM that Rowley said the PNM is not closing Petrotrin. Let me remind you first. Run it.
But I want to talk to the mothers, the children, the neighbors, and all those who are attached to the Petrotrin business to make one clear statement to you. First and foremost, the government is not closing down Petrotrin. And in case you were just opening your fridge and you didn't hear that when you closed the door, let me repeat it. The government of Trinidad and Tobago is not closing down Petrotrin.
Well, Petrotrin closed going on 6 years. In August, September will be 6 years it closed. The refinery closed, Petrotrin closed. So now they're trying a new thing now. The new thing is to say that it was a restructuring, not a closure. Hello? Open your fridge door and close it. And your fridge closed? Go and open your house door and close it. Ain't it closed? Open your pepper bottle that you have there while you're watching douglAR Politics and eating your pilau. Open the pepper bottle. Close it. Ain't it closed? These P&M trying to tell you the refinery that closed, not closed. That's the ridiculous argument now. Back then, they were also saying they had to close it because tea lady was making exorbitant money. Carpenters and people, laborers, the salaries were totally bad. They attacked workers, remember that? They said that Petrotrin had to be shut down. Then the third thing they said, because let me tell you something, he so dotish, he don't remember the lies that they lie, so he come and tell the truth and make himself a liar. The third thing they said was that Petrotrin, the board of Petrotrin, under the new board, because the first board was fired with the fake oil thing, and the minister Oliveri was fired because they did an audit into fake oil. The board under Winfred Espinay, Keith Christopher Rowley said, the board told the cabinet to shut down Petrotrin. Remember that? Winfred Espinay went in labor court under oath and said the board did no such thing. His board, his P&M board, his Petrotrin board under Winfred Espinay never told the government to shut down Petrotrin. Well, this one come and admit now in this thing as we go through that yes, it was the cabinet decision, not the board. Nobody told them. So let's go through now forensically and deal with this dishonest, dotish, arrogant clown. Not for the first time, he talks about Mr. Maraj. Chairman and board members are talking about chairman and board member reports that allegedly advise the government against closing the refinery. And he does not this without being able to point to a single item of fact in support of these assertions. He cannot identify a single chairman, board, or report in support of his frequent assertions. Really? Winfred Espinay, under oath, on the record of the Labour Court, said, and I quote, this board of Petrotrin never advised the government to close down Petrotrin. That one, Winfred Espinay. Then you had the Solomon report. Go and read it, you big dunce. The Lashley report and the McKinsey report. $64 million paid to experts. And not one of those reports said to close down Petrotrin. This one, part 3. He said, it is an irrefutable fact that Petrotrin was restructured. You could call it and play semantics, whatever. Petrotrin was closed down. There was a refinery employing 5,364 permanent workers and 6,120 temporary workers. P&M closed it down and all the workers went home. So no amount of new language, bright language, or obfuscation by dishonest clowns could change that. All you could call it restructure, destructure, pre-structure. It closed down, shut down, people lost their jobs, and fence line communities suffered. Smallpin continued. This restructuring was actually conducted in 2018 by the then chairman of Petrotrin, Mr. Winfred Espinay, and his board in conjunction with the decision making of the cabinet. The board was fully involved at every step of the way. Yes, the board was fully involved at every step after the cabinet shut it down. The board never said shut it down. You see how he think he's smart? Dunderhead should never write thing in paper. The board had to carry out the instructions of the cabinet. The cabinet decided to shut down Petrotrin, shut down the refinery. It is shut down. Send home workers. People still suffering. Families suffering. And the whole Southwest Peninsula is in shambles. The decision to shut down Petrotrin, the refinery, was a cabinet decision. Let me read that again. Rowley said we're not shutting down Petrotrin. Rowley said Espinay and his Petrotrin board told the cabinet, advised the cabinet to shut down Petrotrin. That was what Rowley said. Hear what Stuart Smallpin says now in 2024. The decision to shut down the refinery was a cabinet decision. It is also an irrefutable fact that the shutdown of the refinery and the restructuring of Petrotrin's operation averted a major economic crisis. Well, let's go and see about that indisputable fact, because you didn't avert no crisis. We are in a crisis. We cannot get foreign exchange. I just read for you that businessmen are worried. They cannot even expand, even though consumers want the product. They can't get foreign exchange. I wanted to go Dominica. I can't get foreign exchange. You have to go in the line and get 200 US only. Businesses, all your credit cards cut down. We are in a foreign exchange crisis. And he talking about they averted the crisis. So what we are now, these people, I tell you, there is nothing sweeter than a dum-dum who arrogant, and Stuart Smallpin Young fits that bill so perfectly. What an idiot. He continued. He talked now, and he went through about productivity at Petrotrin, at the land and the oil, the crude oil production to fuel and to put raw material at Petrotrin. And he gave you all the numbers. But what he didn't say and what truth he didn't put is that under Kevin Ramnarine and Kamala Prasad-Bissessar, oil production from 2010 upwards went up to 2014, up 76,000, up to 94,000 barrels a day. And under his government, by 2017, that had dropped down to 50,000 barrels a day because the PNM was not invested in maintaining the oil fields, in maintaining and doing the work that was necessary to keep the productivity every day up. So the productivity went down. So because of the PNM incompetence, you then had a component that was increasing of imported crude to be refined, which would cut your margins. What he also said, and what I would put a small pin right here too. But small pin, if there was no fake oil, if AV oil was producing incredible amounts of oil like the PNM Franklin Can, who went into the parliament and said, look at this company, AV Oil, as his daughter was in the PNM Senate upstairs. Look at these vast increases in production. If that was not fake oil, then why shut down Petrotrin? Because if whatever technology Nazim Bash and AV Oil was doing, if that was real legitimate oil coming up, then we would not have needed to import. The margins would not have been reduced. We could have given Nazim Bash and AV Oil more acreage. We could have used the technology in other fields to boost production and get production up to 150,000 barrels of oil per day. Why you didn't do that? Or the oil wasn't there? Okay. Furthermore, he then went on to say, which is quite a fallacy, that Petrotrin was taking raw crude, refining it and making a loss. But you see, they play games. These are technical situations and accounting in different spheres. During 2012 to 2015, Petrotrin, the refinery, had to go through maintenance, heavy maintenance and so on. Therefore, the productivity would have diminished. The margins would have gone down because of the reduced capacity and so on to conduct maintenance that was overdue. So in the accounting, and when the margins for temporarily for a period of 2-3 years were lower, there was then a collapse of the oil price. So the profit margin went down. So because of external shocks, temporarily, the balance sheet, the profit and loss per barrel was diminished. But that is an operating issue. That's how you run the business. The business will pick back up. The margins will widen when the maintenance effects and the efficiency picks back up, and the cost of maintenance are worked out on the accounts, and then oil prices go back up globally, which happened with the Ukraine war. You would have been there earning foreign exchange. So that was, he's so stupid, that man say that. So abject total falsehoods. He then went on, and this is the beautiful part. The PNM, when they shut down Petrotrin, when they fired all the workers, they never mentioned the debt burden. The UNC was telling you the yoke around Petrotrin's neck was the debt. The neck was the debt burden. The debt burden that was thrust upon Petrotrin and the Petrotrin workers and the Petrotrin family by Malcolm Jones, executive director and executive chairman of Petrotrin between 2006 and 2010. That debt is what strangled the profits of Petrotrin. That debt was what was killing Petrotrin. So all the workers working hard and efficiently and moving forward, that debt was what was killing Petrotrin. Rowley, Franklin Can and Smallpin never mentioned the debt. They're always talking about, oh, the tea lady making too much, the workers making too much, the oil ain't good, there ain't enough production. They never said anything about the debt. Well, story jump out from Dodo head mouth now because they forget when they just lie. Let me read now. The refinery was losing hundreds of millions of dollars. The concerns of asset integrity. The looming bullet payment of US 850 million, 5.8 billion TT, which had to be paid in August 2019. There were further difficulties associated with servicing another 750 million US debt. But you know what? He never says, and this is his truth, you know what he never says? That 850 million and that 750 million debt, that balloon payment, you know who was responsible for that? The PNM. Malcolm Jones with its projects like World GTL, with the gas to liquid optimization, the ULSD, the ultra low sulfur diesel project, all total complete failures. Malcolm Jones, but in his truth, in Smallpin's truth, he says the debt is what was strangling. But here say, who put the debt? It's PNM debt, it's Malcolm Jones debt. And you know what? You know who was Malcolm Jones' lawyer? You know who was Malcolm Jones' lawyer when Anand Ramlogan and Kamla Prasad Bisesa said you were irresponsible, you were wrong? Why did you take the taxpayers' money and dump it into these projects? And now the citizens, the future generations are suffering because of you. When Anand Ramlogan and Kamla had Malcolm Jones in court, this was Malcolm Jones' lawyer. Then the email gate, he went and defended the email gate liar. And the EBC gave PNM an extra hour for election and did not alert the UNC. And them squeaking the power, he went in the office of the Attorney General. And you know what PNM did under Faris Al-Rawi catsuit man? They withdrew the case of Malcolm Jones from the court. Based on whose advice? Vincent Legal Prostitute Nelson. I just want to pause right here and remind all you, remember what the Privy Council said about that decision by the PNM to withdraw £100 million case out of the court, and they announced it before. On what grounds? Because this PNM, and this was Malcolm Jones' lawyer, and now they come to admit Petrotrin closed down and the pressure on it was because of PNM, Malcolm Jones' debt. That bad decisions, corrupt decisions, decisions that they could not account for, suffering Petrotrin, and the people had to pay for it because of PNM incompetence. Let me hear what the gentleman across the pond had to say. Run it.
Doesn't he go a bit further than that? I mean, isn't he saying this is all rather extraordinary? There was two pretty confident opinions from senior counsel that the case should be brought against Mr. Jones. It was. In September, there was a change of government. In October, Mr. Jones was appointed to the Standing Committee. Within days, there was a whisper in the papers that the case against him might be dropped. Within 10 days of that, Mr. Nelson is writing a very short opinion, and he's after all dealing with withdrawal of a $97 million claim, Mr. Rowe, saying that he thinks there's a reasonable likelihood of failure. In all those, and then it's withdrawn and discontinued, and all the costs have to be paid. Isn't that the basis for saying we must please see the basis upon which Mr. Nelson cast his pessimism, which led to discontinuance?
Well, my lord, it depends upon what one is concerned with. The way it's put by the appellant in his affidavit is, well, it's necessary to allay suspicions. But to put it bluntly, as we do put it bluntly in our case, bluntly the suspicion is that there's been some sort of political interference in all of this, such that for purely political reasons the new government has decided, irrespective of the merits of the case, that it ought to be dropped.
Mr. Rowe, 2 days before this opinion was written, was a Minister of Communication for the new government saying that the case against Mr. Jones was heading for dismissal?
There's reference to that. May I just pick up the reference to that?
Yes, certainly.
Give me a sec. I don't think it's 2 days before that. I think it's actually a little longer before that, my lord. The advice from Mr. Nelson is dated the 11th of October.
Yes, I've got the Minister of Communications down as the 9th, but
oh, no, you're quite
I may well be wrong.
My lord, you're quite right. It is the...
So what was the government, why was the government floating possible dismissal in advance of receiving this advice?
Now you're all remembering. This is why I tell you it's beautiful. It's lovely. It's amazing when a dum-dum and a dishonest dum-dum is so arrogant that he takes his time to write down what he believes to be true, which cannot be substantiated. So right there you see that this government under him, this was Malcolm Jones' attorney. They used Vincent Nelson, and then you know the Vincent Nelson indemnity then came after, and the 20-something million he get in legal fees. They settle a case and pay the full amount in fees and so on. Vincent Nelson. But this one here continued. He said, it's important, a proposal to deal with the 850 million bullet payment due in August 2019, and to do so without recourse to the Minister of Finance. So all of a sudden now, they're talking about the Minister of Finance and the debt burden, but let me also tell you at this juncture, they may pay off that 850 million bullet payment or 750 million bullet payment, you know. All they did was restructure the debt, for kick the can down the road. Your children still have to pay off that, and they come into Mama Gaio with fabricated accounts. Now you see why the Auditor General have a problem with these fellas. This one small pin continued. Eventually the board submitted, then he spoke about the Lashley report, because eventually they came and they asked Lashley and his team went and did a report which never said shut down Petrotrin, not one word. And I dare small pin Stuart Young, if he dare say that Lashley report said shut down Petrotrin, show the population. Eventually small pin said the board submitted to cabinet that the only way that was possible to refinance the $850 million loan, refinance the Malcolm Jones loan, the P&M corruption loan, the P&M mismanagement loan. The only way it was to redo that is to restructure and move some of the assets and take away so that they could borrow again and refinance. That's all. But within that, they had to shut down Petrotrin. Why? Because of Malcolm Jones, Malcolm P&M Jones. P&M Malcolm Jones lawyer is Stuart Smallpin Young. Rowley took Malcolm Jones out of court, put him back before he dead on an energy committee with Ken Julian, and that's why we are suffering. That's why your children suffering, and that's why you have to get property tax from the P&M. They continued. The root of the problem that resulted in the refinery being closed was the unavailability of sufficient crude from Petrotrin resources. Really? But I thought oil was coming up like magic down by AV. Well, if it was coming up by magic, how come the two things can't be simultaneously true? One. Secondly, oil available all over the world. You could buy and bring in oil easily and refine it, as the margins would have gone up. And then when the prices also went up, as they eventually did, we were not in a position to benefit because of the decision taken to shut down Petrotrin by the P&M. The refinery was a loss-making enterprise. Lie. that was sinking Petrotrin and threatened to bankrupt Trinidad and Tobago. No. What threatened to bankrupt Trinidad and Tobago was the PNM Malcolm Jones, this clown, this one, who went and world GTL total bus project. They had no money. He was executive chairman, which meant he had CEO powers, and he took decisions on his own to commit taxpayers billions of dollars, and nothing happened, and it suffered the people of Trinidad and Tobago, PNM's nastiness. And when the government of Kamala was trying to recoup some, couldn't even get back all. You, Small Pin, was this one lawyer. And when you came into government, you, Rowley and Alawi, with Maxi Coffee and the PNM, took this one out of court and celebrated him. The refinery was loss-making, not true. And the payment of $850 million debt in August 2019, which would have also triggered a call on a $700 million debt at the time, as well as the US $450 million short-term debt. This would have required the Minister of Finance to find $2.something billion and take us to the IMF. That's what he said. They would have had to take us to the IMF. The PNM always likes to bring in the IMF and say, oh God, we did everything wrong. We make you lose money. We lost over billions of US. Our decisions were pathetic. But you know what? We didn't go by the IMF. Well, you know why you didn't have to go by the IMF? One word, Kamala. Because Kamala left 12.26 billion US in reserves. Kamala left 7.7 billion US in the Heritage and Stabilization Fund. Kamala left import cover of 14 months. Kamala left throughout the economy stacks of savings for the people, so that you, despite your terrible decisions, had the buffer. And you know who the buffer was? Kamala. Kamala's policy, Kevin Ramnarine, the economy was booming and the savings that were made. So you didn't have to go IMF, but what you did was take our reserves, 12.26, down to now 5.8 billion. You took our heritage and stabilization from 7.6 down to 6.1 billion, when in 9 years it should have gone up to 16.5 billion US. You all have mismanaged and bankrupted Trinidad and Tobago. He continues, the face to save from the IMF program. The only reasonable option that was available to a responsible government that was concerned about the well-being of the country was to get out of refining business and restructure. That's your answer? Fire, look at this document here too. This was attained by Gary Aboud and Freedom of Information, and it shows that you lie. Petrotrin was never making no loss, and Petrotrin was a positive US earner, forex exchange earner. That's why all the businesses, 6,000 businesses shut down because of Malcolm Jones, PNM, Rowley and Small Pin. That's what it is here, and they tell lies. Look the information. You print a whole thing with no information. Your fantasy of fabrication. He continued. They were able to refinance the loan. That's what he boasting about. More interest, more pressure on future generations. But he don't care, because he don't even take care of his children. He had a child in the house for 10 years, playing daddy, and when the child didn't do things correctly, that's not my child. That's who you're all dealing with. Now, and Coleman Butt admitted it. If you all remember douglAR Politics last month, Coleman Butt also, I don't have the video, it's alright, but I read the article and remember Coleman Butt admitted that the refinery, because they're talking about somebody coming to buy the refinery. But you know who negotiating, you know who observing, you know who meeting with whoever want to purchase the refinery? Rowley and Small Pin. Anywhere to have money to spend for your assets, somehow Rowley and Small Pin always there, meeting with CEOs, meeting with businessmen, meeting with manufacturers, meeting with contractors, meeting with goods providers. Is that good corporate governance? Is that how it works? That you put the decision makers right next to the goods providers? That's not fraught with corruption. That's not red flags. I wonder if sometimes in our country we just have no clue, and Rowley and them will call people thief. When Kamala was there, had one chairman for one board, one person for one board, one person only on one board. You had tender committees, all of that. You are this one man. billing and spending everything from house to airport to hospital to fire station, community center, to President's House, to Red House, to Prime Minister residence, to sports stadium, to refurbishment, to rehabilitation, community centers, everything and anything this one man spending, and them calling people thief. This one continued. That's about it for this clown called Stuart Smallpin Young. So Smallpin, you say you like the debate. I just gave you 17 points. Why? Your truth about Petrotrin is fraught with lies, misinformation, lack of information, lack of numbers, just like your Minister of Finance cannot account for 3.49 billion in revenue that he won the Auditor General just to pump up the figures so all you don't look as bad as you all are, and that he cannot account for $1 billion in expenditure, 360 million in expenditure from his very own Ministry of Finance. Not a bill, nothing. Understand this. Money cannot come out of the treasury just if the treasury is not sitting there with cash, you know, that you could just breeze blow and it blows up. In order to get money out of the treasury, there's a process, paperwork. You have to go, you have to assess, you have to put it to the AO5, have to carry it to the permanent secretary, minister have to recommend it, then it goes down, and you to get a check, you have 3 people to type up a check, 1 person to check the file and put in the amount, 1 to type up the check, and 1 to print the check, then it have to go by the permanent secretary to sign. All you can't find the checks for $360 million from the Ministry of Finance and from other ministries, totaling $1 billion. Where are the checks? The money could not come out without a check. So when the Auditor General say, I'm seeing this, where the check? Where the check stub? Where the paperwork? It have none because it thief out. Now, as we continue, we staying with energy sector, you know, because remember, Rowley said he went to Houston and he praised Stuart Smallpin Young, the same one there, and they went and negotiated gas price, and then when they realized that the gas price collapsed Trinidad and Tobago economy, that the upstreamers, the international companies made super profits, and Trinidad and Tobago was left making losses. NGC made a loss for the first time in history. Our revenues plummeted. Our foreign exchange reserves were diminishing. Remember that from 2017? And then Rowley and him tried to lie and say, no, not me I negotiate nothing. Let me remind you of the amount of lies they just tell. Run it.
The last time when we were looking at the energy sector, that there was a stalemate with the NGC negotiations, which you continue to look at the contracts and in terms of getting the best value for the country. You took a trip to Houston, you broke that point. At that point, you broke the stalemate that existed. There are about 5 more contracts still outstanding. Will you be involved in these negotiations?
Well, no, I don't expect to be. As I was coming down here, I saw a whole page advertisement in the newspapers by the opposition, which is hell-bent on misleading this country. About me negotiating gas contract. What had happened is that the 2 parties, NGC negotiates gas contracts for this country, the National Gas Company. And in that company you have the experts who do it and their advisors. I do not get involved with the actual price of the negotiation or that's not my job.
As the Prime Minister has said on countless occasions, as I have said on countless occasions, as the Minister of Energy has said on countless occasions prior to today, the Prime Minister did not engage in negotiations of gas prices. He did not engage in those discussions in Houston in 2017.
When I went to Houston 2 or 3 months ago with Minister Young on a mission to meet BP, Shell, EOG, and also Exxon, because Exxon is not producing here, but the other 3. BP, our major supplier, Shell, the new big player that bought out BG, and EOG, our 2nd largest gas producer. I went to Houston and concluded the negotiations that had been going on, and we agreed on a gas price across the board.
Now, some of you all may know what a zero-sum game is. Let me break it down for you simply. It means two people are negotiating for a good. When you're in that negotiation, the price that you end up agreeing on, if one party goes up and it makes more money, the other party has to suffer. Both parties can't go up same time, and both parties will not be able to go down same time. So when you're negotiating like that in a zero-sum game, you need the brightest, the sharpest, the best tools in the shed. People who really know and are strong and firm in the negotiation, because you want to go up a bit so that you make the extra profit and they will go down a little bit. That's the zero-sum game. Gas pricing with upstreamers and us as a country negotiating with the upstreamers, which is those people who drill, they spend all their money, invest, find pockets, they sometimes drill a dry hole and they can't get no gas, they could lose. It's a risk, but they're very bright, they go and look for it. But then them get it. It's them gas now, and we have to buy it, even though it's here in Trinidad and Tobago, and we have to negotiate. Rowley negotiated the price, right? And that was 2017. These things go in cycles of like 3 years, right? Rowley has been in charge 2017 until now. Let me now read for you an article hidden in the Express business section, Sunday 5th May, page 11 of the business section. Little article hidden, but with pertinent, important information. EOG is one of those upstreamers. You heard Rowley say he went to negotiate with BP, EOG, and Exxon, but Exxon not working here, but EOG. So EOG is one of those companies that Rowley and Smallpin went to negotiate with. Now remember, zero-sum game. All you following me? EOG Resources has reported that it earned a premium for selling gas in Trinidad and Tobago compared to the United States. EOG earned 69% more for every million standard cubic feet of gas it sold in Trinidad and Tobago compared to how much it made for its U.S. output, according to the company's latest filings with the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission. Rowley and Smallpin are so dotish that the negotiators in the U.S. who negotiated with the same intelligent EOG people, those negotiators got a price that they got U.S. benefited. These two clowns negotiated a price that EOG went up 69% better than the U.S. people who they negotiated with. EOG find too bubbly, too dense, and butter them, abuse them. But you know who suffer? You and your children. You have to pay more taxes. You have to pay property tax. They come in to dig in your wallet. They come in with TTRA. They come in to search everything. They come in at you because of their stupidity. And you going to vote for that? Let me read it once more. EOG Resources has reported that it earned a premium for selling gas in Trinidad and Tobago as compared to the United States. They make more money here per MMBTU than in the States. EOG earned 69% more for every million standard cubic feet of gas sold in Trinidad and Tobago compared to what it sold in the U.S. because of these two blithering idiots. And I told you all that before, Actually remind them, I think I mentioned it to you all before, but look it right here. And the Express of them hide it, They hide the information that Rowley and them is done. Run it. You ever find that one? No problem. But I told you all, those who pay attention, I told you all that back in 2017, after the negotiation in Houston, when a year later EOG reported, because these companies have to report, these companies are publicly traded companies. They can't keep secret. They can't send pre-action protocol to Auditor General. They can't send information backdated. They can't lose $3.49 billion and say nothing wrong. They can't not account for $1 billion. EOG and these companies are serious international companies. And they reported back then in 2018 an increase in their profit margins in Trinidad and Tobago, in their Trinidad and Tobago area, 67%. Well, boy, they do even better now. With these two idiots, them going up 69%, and in a zero-sum game. What does that mean? Compared to when Kevin Ramnarine and Kamla Prasad Bisesa was negotiating on your behalf, 69% less revenue for you, the people of Trinidad and Tobago, because traveling pants, Ghana man, where you going Ghana to do? Check a bank or do Obia? Traveling man here is one complete Lekoto dance, and his sidekick even more dotish. You find it or you find it? Alright, we heard that, but you all will know that. Lack of rainfall forces WASA to adjust water schedule again. Imagine that. They're talking about water, rainfall. We have more rainfall than anything. We have rainfall and flood. The problem is distribution. We have told you all that. Everywhere across Trinidad and Tobago, there are leaks all over. You all know it better than me. They'll pump out, they produce 7.4 billion gallons of water per month, and 4.3 to 4.5 billion gallons are wasted and thrown away, and yet they still come to tell us about them have to reschedule or readjust scheduling because of the reservoir low. The reservoir low because when you pump it to us from the reservoir, you're throwing way off. Fix the pipe on them. Marvelous marvel, you know, get it through your thick head, boy. Migrant school children belong in school, not on the streets. A letter in the Express on the 5th May, R. Polony. Kamla Prasad Bisesa called for, move this one, we're not talking about school, because me I know what school he went to. Marvelous marvel, right? Kamla Prasad Bisesa spoke last year and the year before, begging the PNM, who had just let migrants come in, who do not man the borders, and at one point at peak, over 150 to 170,000 Venezuelan migrants were here. Now some have actually gone back to suffer in peace in Venezuela because they love their country. But let's say there's still 80 to 100,000 migrants here, of which 5 to 8,000 are children. They have not been allowed to go to school. So Rowley and them allow them to come here with family, and you have children who are not going to school. What are you generating? This is going on 5, 6, 7 years. Children who came here at 5 years old are now 10 or 12 years old. Children who came here at 8 years old are now 15 years old without an education. Kamla has been begging the PNM to put these children in school. Gadsby Dolly said last year, September, we will make arrangements for them to go to school. How many Venezuelan children got in school? How many? As we're talking that, I see firemen own money, and Fitzgerald Ethelbert Hines coming in the Senate to the Bella Point 14 station with no teeth, Noel Garcia. And when Wade Mark said, but it had no fire engine. Today in Diego Martin had a fire. I see it at about, I forget what time it was, 11:42. I went in Super Farm to get my asthma medicine and think it take a while. By 23 minutes later, I now see 2 fire engines heading down and then an ambulance heading down towards the fire. So at least 45 minutes before fire truck could reach to fight fire. 45 minutes, house done burn down. That's PNM. The whole country burning down. And Rowley in Ghana looking for yam. And you all say that's good. You're going to dip your finger because of what? And then firemen are here, auxiliary firemen, from since 1998, you know. The chief fire officer owe them money. They had a $245 allowance for food and so on. These are auxiliary firemen waiting to get onto the establishment. And some of them 8, 10, 12, 15 years. That money was illegally taken from them. The PNM, the permanent secretaries, the fire chief, The lawyers have said that they are owed that money, and the PNM Fitzgerald Hines, the Minister of Finance, refused to pay the auxiliary fire officers. They refuse to pay them. They're taking perks and taking grants and taking allowances away from nurses, from teachers, from all the people. They shut down Petrotrin and put all you all out of work, and all you still want to vote for that? I cannot understand that, my people. Hines, wake up, Hines, and go and get the money and pay the fire officers, please. All them auxiliary officers. Some men owed 8 years, some 10 years. Some of them retire and ain't getting money yet. NAMDEVCO monitoring coconut shortage. Well, we have a coconut shortage in Trinidad and Tobago now. NAMDEVCO boy. Dave Tanku, well done. Dave Tanku caught the PNM in the throes of corruption. At a joint select committee meeting, the Public Accounts Committee, Dave Tanku was asking questions, and he was asking about procurement and certain things, okay? And in the meeting was the chairman of the National Agricultural Marketing and Development Corporation, NAMDEVCO, right, and other people, Mr. Wayne Innes, Mr. PNM Wayne Innes, and Dave Tanku asked this chairman, listen carefully, you know, because this was printed on page 3 of the Express, but this just passed somehow, they're like normal, because PNM have lowered the standard so much. They have operationalized, normalized thieving, so that all they just accept it. Dave Tanku said, were any guidelines provided by any minister for the selection of this entity to do the strategic plan? Tanku asked. And Mr. Innes, the chairman, the PNM chairman, said, yes, we were directed by the honorable minister then to use the services of the person who did this job. I received a verbal instruction, Innes said, from the minister. Given the circumstances of the time and the urgency of the requirement, Innes said, yes, it was okay. Innes, you had to be a madman, and you better get a lawyer, because Innes, police, boy blue, something is wrong with you. A minister cannot instruct you who to give a contract to. Are you a madman? Let me read what he said. Innes said, yes, we were directed by the honorable minister then to use the services of the person who did this job. Innes, you know, and this man go joint select committee, and then he tried to justify to say, yeah boy, we was in a rush. So Innes, you feel once you in a rush, you could thief? There's procurement, there's tendering, there's competition, there's not to be favoritism and nepotism. That is called thieving. A minister tell you give Johnny the contract, and you give Johnny the contract. Hello. But these PNM, are they mad? Are they really mad? And police, fraud squad, all you doing? What are they really doing? Fraud squad, do you all know that you all don't have to sit down there and listen to the Auditor General and the Attorney General sending pre-action protocol letter, and then sitting down and not telling us evidence, and the Minister of Finance lying in the Parliament and so on? Fraud squad, there's enough information in the public domain that you all have the authority to go to a court, get warrants, and go and seize all them documents and investigate for yourself. Because if any accounts were backdated, fraud squad, then somebody in the Ministry of Finance had to be charged. It's that simple. And you all have the authority so to do. You'd rather wait for Colin to do no investigation and appoint PNM to investigate PNM. Police is police, boy. I don't know what's going on in this country, you know. Rambarat, who was the minister, said he denied giving verbal instruction to PNM chairman. Well, PNM only had to fight up that, because the man on the Hansard saying the minister, the PNM minister, gave him instruction to give a man a contract, and he, Innes, give the man the contract. No tender, no advertisement, no tenders committee, no assessment. He just say, a minister tell me, give you a contract. This PNM, and that man realized that thief, you know. Raw sewage flows on 24th Street. Beetham Gardens, 2 weeks stink. And here the news there, this Beetham again, you know. All you don't remember, Beetham just went through 8.5, 9 months of stench of tutu water. All you didn't remember that. And then when they had the same problem by Goodwood Park, it was only 5 days. All you didn't remember, yeah, me telling you that. And I was saying it even though I know my people in Beetham and Lavanti and thing, I go vote for you and say, all right, no big thing. But I still want to fight for the people. All they don't deserve to be waking up and smelling tutu water and flies sitting down there, and then you cook your nice pilau and a fly sit down in it and your child get sick. Nah man, that ain't right. And look, it happen again. Raw sewage flows on 24th Street in Beetham again. And here the editorial of the Newsday. Newsday, who puts PNM in power, right? Let's hear Newsday. Stench of neglect. Newsday, Section A, Friday, May 3rd, 2024. Yet again, there's a problem with the sewage system at Beetham Gardens. Yet again, the authorities have been slow to respond. The authorities, Newsday, no. The PNM, say it, all your sick, dishonest newspapers, not the authorities. The PNM is slow to respond. All the authorities is PNM. It has PNM MP, PNM Minister of Public Utilities, PNM Cabinet, PNM WASA, PNM everything, but all about the authorities and Newsday, your dishonest, corrupt newspaper. And yet again, politicians have been found wanting. No, Newsday, not politicians. PNM politicians, Newsday. Don't lump everybody there. It's the PNM that's suffering the people again. But you can't say it. You can't say the truth because mass media is dishonest and want to leave the corrupt, incompetent PNM, heartless PNM there. Then talk about Kamla. That's what you all want. If Kamla was there, this done fix. If the Minister of Works and Transport Public Utilities have fixed that fast, they get fired. That is Kamla. That is performance because she care about people. Don't say politicians. Say PNM politicians, Newsday. Let me rewrite your editorial for you, you disgusting, dishonest newspaper. They continued. It was only 3 years ago in August 21 that a sinkhole caused a ruptured sewer. But by January 22nd, the matter was still unresolved. You remember that? 8 months. But that is PNM for PNM, in PNM, by PNM, PNM in authority. But why should ordinary citizens bear the burden of all this, asks the Newsday? Why does the state, not the state, the PNM government, who is the state? The PNM. Why does the state, with all its resources, consistently fail to deal with and plan for these contingencies? No. Why does the PNM continue to fail and plan for these contingencies, Newsday? The PNM. Mr. Nanga last month, yet again, asked people to hold strain on a separate issue of WASA-created potholes. Not WASA-created potholes, Newsday. PNM WASA-created potholes. Because when Kamla was there, and it had Ganga Singh in public utilities, and Jack Warner and all Suraj Rambachan in works and transport, Kamla instructed them to work together, and public utilities and works and transport work together, so that if public utilities had pipe to change and so on, they go first, they check it out, they pressure test it, they do the thing. Then Jack Warner come and pave. Roads were smooth, no UNC pothole. Now you have, look at the raw sewage there, that was there for 8 months, and now it come back. And Beetham is PNM, Wasa is PNM, Nanga is PNM, marvelous PNM. They continued. Will WASA officials ask 24th Street to have more patience too? Not WASA officials, PNM officials. It's WASA does not exist just so. It's a WASA, it has a PNM minister, a PNM board appointed by the PNM, paid with PNM stipend. PNM appoints the CEO, PNM fire CEO, PNM all throughout. PNM, Newsday. You all see why you all must not buy these pieces of toilet paper? It continued. Laventille West MP Fitzgerald Hines, when contacted about the situation this week, said, "I only heard about it on Monday, but I was in the Beetham on Sunday. Tell your editors to write that." Let me read that again. That's this. And people, you all voted 10,000 times for this horse riding with a little boy in his lap. This sativa, narcoleptic, sleepy, dotish, ignorant, asinine human being, Fitzgerald Talbot, body bag Hines. Y'all kicked tutu water on him and he ensured y'all had more tutu water. He only hear about it on Monday because he up in Maraval. He sleeping nice in the bourgeois area. This Pomsy take long. Look how comfortable. Look how comfortable. He riding a horse with somebody, little boy child there. Seeing all the fellas in the beat him, die all their son, all they putting on a horse with a big man jockey backing him. All in the beat him. Asking all you, because you vote for that. I confused. The dog are confused. Yellow is the code, and yellow code don't have that. I only heard about it on Monday, said Fitzgerald at Talbot Hines, but I was in the Beetham on Sunday. Tell your editors to write that. Now here the Newsday. The cynical view that politicians only do walkabouts at elections or for optics is fueled in part by the fact that many do not acknowledge representation as a wider exercise. That is PNM politicians who mama guide the population. The UNC has been walking the talk for 8.5 years in every constituency across the board without resources, without the ability to help people, yet we still find a way to help, even if it means just showing up and just showing concern and just listening. Don't lump politicians. Say it with me, Newsday. PNM politicians suck. PNM sucks. Sewage and PNM. Why they don't take all this sewage and throw it in Balize house? All the fellas on the Beetham, why they don't send the sewage there? If all they must live with it, and all you always vote for them? All you will always vote for them? Well, what they give you, give to them. Cops arrest 8. Shut down aggregate plant in Wallerfield. Alan Warner, friend and business partner of Prime Minister Keith Christopher Rowley. Remember a few months ago, I tell all you, Warner Construction, some workers were charged for illegal quarrying. Well, look again. Cops arrest 8, shut down aggregate plant in Wallerfield. Police shut down an aggregate processing plant owned by the Warner Group of companies in Wallerfield on May 2nd and arrested 8 people. Founder of the Warner Group of companies, Alan Warner, confirmed the police operation at Wallerfield plant on May 2nd and the arrest of his son, Aluko Atto Warner, and 7 other workers. Newsday received no response to a WhatsApp message seeking comment from Minister of Energy and Energy Industry Stuart Young, who has in the past spoken about clamping down on illegal mining. Rowley friend, goat farm businessman. You remember Manning say, show me your friends and I'll show you who you are. Show me a liar and I'll show you a thief. How come all Rowley friends this be like this? You had the video of Rowley saying this, he friend, in the parliament? Run it, run it. Remind the people, because your friend, company, illegally quarrying. Run it.
On the note of birds of a feather, could you indicate whether Inez Investment Limited, Alan Warner, is a partner in the terminal construction and whether you have a business interest? Mr. Are you aware whether or not in the public construction of the terminal building in the Piaco at ANR International Airport, Inez Investment of your friend Alan Warner is involved in the construction with subcontracts? Are you aware of that?
Madam Speaker, every citizen of Trinidad and Tobago is my friend, including Alan Warner. But I'm not aware that Alan Warner is involved in this project at Crown Point. And when they come to the parliament asking me if Alan Warner is my friend, the answer is yes.
My friend, yes. Landed. Alan Warner was building a project for Rowley and his wife. And Alan Warner simultaneously back then subcontract NH International, a huge company. You ever a small company subcontract to a huge company who happened to be building the Scarborough Hospital? Alan Warner is Inez Gate. Rowley get buy 2 condominium there and get a discount of $468,000 on he own, and did not declare it to the Integrity Commission as a benefit. And he get a next 500,000 of a next one for his daughter, and he did not declare it as a benefit. What about Goat Gate? All them goat and goat pen is Rowley and his friend. The PNM residents in Tobago, the driveway, they said 5 million. Munira said gone up to all kind of the refurbishment went up to skyrocket to $44 million. Alan Warner and Rowley. Police Service Commission collapse because Rowley went by a president and get the chairman Blessy Prasad to misbehave in public office, act on her own, and shut down and thwart a merit list. The new Police Service Commission included an executive who worked with Warner Group of companies. She is on the Police Service Commission to choose commissioners of police. And Rowley saying, I'm a friend. How come all a Rowley friend and them in all these kind of thing? Archie, show me some more Rowley friend. All you watch Rowley friend again. Watch this next friend.
To the issue of the situation of Petrotrin, you said
A little louder, please. A little louder, please.
Oh, just on the issue of your phone call to Mr. Baksh, I'm just wondering whether or not, considering that he is at the center of this investigation right now, no outcomes, yes, but he is, his company and him are being looked at in this internal audit report and this fraud allegation, whether it was appropriate for you to call him.
Of course it's appropriate. I mean, if you have a friend and you hear that, you know, something like that happened to me, you wouldn't ask him, you know, what's this about? I mean, I couldn't wait to call him to find out what all this is about. I mean, and he said he doesn't know, right? Because he's not aware of it, right? So, I mean, if I have a friend and I'm accused in that way and the friend doesn't reach out to me to find out what's going on, I will kind of look at you kind of funny.
I want to the issue of
show the friend dancing. I'll show you how the friend dancing. Man said that he friend, right? A holy friend. And he stayed there. And he stayed in charge of Petrotrin. He stayed involved. He did not recluse himself. He put his own personal lawyer in charge of that. They went to arbitration. They refused to appeal. And his friend ended up with $118 million of your money plus a contract worth $950 million. Watch him there. I don't know if I can play the audio because find the original one that we could play the audio on to. This is him there, and the next one, and every 2 words is racist epithets and cussing and talking, attacking Kamla. Man love Rowley and love small pen like hog love mud. Watch him there. That Rowley friend. He's a real African, eh? Hey, my people in the beat-em, all you should be like he. 118 million on top of what he had already get, plus a contract with 950 million. All you can even get to water cleanup. Play him.
Of course it's appropriate. I mean, if you have a friend and you hear that, you know, something like that happened to me, you wouldn't ask him, you know, what's this about?
That's who you all vote for. And the PNM tell all you don't vote for yellow, don't vote for Indian. Them don't like black people. Don't vote for fuel subsidy in your car. Don't vote to be able to drive all over. Don't vote for safety and security. Don't vote for laptop. Don't vote for baby grant. Don't vote for increased sport funding opportunities. Don't vote for increased gate 726 million under Fazal Karim as opposed to 285 million. Don't vote for 14% wages increase, 145 negotiations increase. Don't vote for US availability. Don't vote for diversification. Don't vote for smooth road and water because it's Indian. But that are Indian. That all you vote for. That Indian. That one day. What? Not only the whole of Petrotrin shut down and all the case and thing, all the investigation into ghost oil, magnified oil, incredible oil, all that done. And then arbitration, no appeal. They appealing, PNM appealing a child with cerebral palsy, a next child has Zika, brain damage. They appealing all of that for children to get a little help. But they didn't appeal that. But our black man ain't, the African. Look how he wind there, and the African. And all they're telling me, all your vote, that is all they vote for. Because if I count all the black people in all the PNM constituency who vote automatically for that, he get more money than all you. That one man get more benefit from the PNM than all you put together. And all you tell me about Indian, we is not no Indian, we is not no African, we is not no Chinese, no Syrian, no douglAR, no mix-up. We is Trinbagonian, all of we is one. And we have to start a vote with we grey matter, with we brain, not we black and brown matter. That all you vote for. And let me tell you something, that is also the PNM, all the friend. Now we friend and them attacking the Auditor General. Why? Because they thief out the money and they cannot account for it. Listen to this and understand elections have consequences. Run it. This was Laoketa. Laoketa tell Paro, all you're showing strong. We have to move, we have to foster unity and get rid of Foster Cummins, Gadsby Dolly, and Rowley arguing with them. Get rid of Trees Company. Run it. Look, you know the bacchanal. Look, and watch for today. Worrying about when this man in this funny suit go move so I could sneak in. I could go and play with Dolly because I like to play Dolly House. Run it.
Say I not cooking. I just only cooking kitchen. So you understand what I say? The PNM thief your money. They say, oh good, that looking too big boy. I'm call that lady, hit she a WhatsApp and tell she we find $3.49 billion. The lady watch the WhatsApp, she say, well all right, where it is, come and show me. They can't show she. Right? They say just add it in and we go organize. Don't frighten. But they find an independent human being. And that's why PNM can't take independence. PNM want you dependent. PNM want to victimize you. PNM want to tell you what you have to do. PNM want to instruct you. Because independent authority means you have to be good. And the PNM not good. The PNM sucks. The PNM not good at education, our children suffering. The PNM not good at giving you water, you're going back to the days of living bucket. The PNM not good at crime fight. We had to dodge bullet, now they want to take away gun from the few of we that have to protect you. Well, Kamla Prasad, say fire burn that. If you're a good citizen, certificate of character, you must defend yourself against the bandits. The PNM leaves people at the mercy of bandits, and then they tell you, don't vote for Indian. All you ever hear anything making less sense? We are Trinbagonian. We are not Indian and African. We are Trinidad and Tobago. We are Christian and Hindu. We are Muslim and Baptist. We are Orisha and we are Rastafari. We are Chinese. We are Syrian. We are Trinidad and Tobago. I sat in the Senate on Monday the 29th. And you must understand, part of my love and respect for Kamala Prasad Bissessa is that she's an attorney at law and a brilliant one, and a senior counsel. Because I came from a family of lawyers. Mother lawyer, father lawyer, two brothers that share the womb is lawyer, my son is a lawyer. But when I sit down in the Senate, and I look across the Senate, and I see a so-called PNM lawyer called Limo, a dishonest, lying perjurer who went in a court of foreign jurisdiction and signed an affidavit fraught with lies. If all you go by the police and lie, if the police stop you for speeding and you lie, you could get extra ticket. This man gone in Florida and lied on the place and signed that, and still calls himself the Attorney General of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, the titular head of the bar. But this man worse than that. The man worse than a liar. Because we came to debate this Auditor General, sorry, I'm using big word. This old thief thing, the PNM thief all your money, and they come to organize the fixed and cookery books. And call him the Dwayne Imbot, the worst Minister of Finance in the history of the Caribbean. The man who built stadium as an engineer and it fall down in Grenada. He built condominium in Diego Martin, it fall down. He built wall in Maraval, it fall down. He tried to get tall and he fall down. This called me but stood up there and tried to cast aspersions on the character of the Auditor General, saying she lied because his officials at the ministry didn't backdate nothing. And he have documents to show the real date is April and all that. That man went on for about 8 minutes. And that Attorney General Limo sat there with his face like concrete, like the obia stick it. It like garlic couldn't move it. And he had in his possession a letter from the Auditor General saying and showing it as evidence the two separate sets of accounts. In tab 1, the attachment to the letter that Limo received on April 17th showed the original accounts with 61 billion, Bubba billion. And in tab B, in his possession, given to him, the Auditor General gave him the fraudulent accounts backdated to January 31st, showing 64 Bubba billion dollars. That Limo admitted he got the letter. He read the letter. He told the Auditor General, I can't help you. I done against you because I with the Dwayne. And he knew that what Imbot was saying was totally false and a lie. Now the Parliament is sometimes described as the highest court of the land. And when an attorney goes in the court and lies, they should be disbarred. They should be removed. And Limo knew that he hid evidence. He kept evidence away from the independent senators. He kept evidence away from the opposition. He withheld evidence from the people of Trinidad and Tobago to cover up the PNM set of old thief. Limo must go. But this is the policy of the PNM. They put the most incompetent human beings in big work. That is why 21 babies dead, because Dial Singh is a dunce. That's why our children going to school, it have more knife and fight, because Gatsby Dolly is a dunce. The accounts getting cooked like Ponzi scheme, because the Dwayne is a dunce. No money in local government, no releases to corporations to serve you, because tight pants Catwoman wearing suit Paris is a dunce. The PNM is full of dunce. All the PNM could foster is a set of dance. And all you in a Hokata Talparo, all you fostering the biggest dance. Foster Cummins. We are too intelligent. We are too bright to allow the PNM to divide us, to make us vote for dance. When you go home, look in your mirror, look at your neighbor, go to the market, go in the pharmacy, drive down the road, go to school, and talk to everybody and ask them, we bright or we dance? Because if we bright, the code is yellow. If we bright, we don't want Ponzi scheme. If we bright, we want more school. If we bright, we want more grants. If we bright, we want better energy sector. If we bright, we want more US. If we bright, we want better roads. If we bright, we want water. If we bright, we want less crime. If we bright, we want more soccer. If we bright, we want more sport. If we bright, we want more textbook. If we bright, we want more grant. If we bright, we want baby grant. If we bright, we want Kamla! We want Kamla! And I think we bright. I think we children bright. I think the country bright. I think the sun will rise bright. I think the yellow bright. I think my people bright. And when the election bell ring, we will vote UNC right across the country. God bless. Stay strong. Good night.
Each one of you sitting here watching this, we have time to get serious. Just on this show alone, you'll understand that Keith Rowley's PNM, the PNM government, fraught with incompetence and pathological liars. Whether it's in the energy sector, whether it's in the Ministry of Education, the Ministry of Finance, across the board, the Minister of National Security is an international embarrassment. The only way to change this is for people to realize that you've been hoodwinked, you've been bamboozled, you've been run amok by the PNM, and it is time to unite. Vote for intelligence, vote for heart, vote for policies that impact you and your children. Vote UNC, vote Kamla. Don't believe the nonsense, don't believe the lies. All they can do, they spend $500 billion and their campaign is lies, their campaign is race, their campaign is hate. And to those of you who would desecrate a sacred place of worship, a Hindu temple, where people, where families go to pray for our country, pray for themselves, pray for positivity, to bring light into our beautiful nation that has been overcome with evil and darkness. For you wicked, evil miscreants, whoever you may be, to go and desecrate a sacred Hindu temple. We in Trinidad and Tobago are lost because Rowley made a deal with the devil in Lekoto. Rowley embraces Obia. Why has Rowley gone to Ghana? He said he consults with Adelphi. He said it's okay to do the occult and the witchcraft once you don't spend US. We need all sacred spiritual people, Hindu, Muslim, Christian, Orisha, Baptist, all to come together and get rid of this evil witchcraft that Rowley is holding over our country. Our babies are dying, our children are dying, our people are dying, blood is flowing in the streets, our coffers are empty, the accounts cannot add up, the maths not mathsing. Never before in the history of Trinidad and Tobago, and PNM has been corrupt from inception, but they could always account. This PNM so corrupt, they cannot even account. So stand up with the Auditor General. It is sad that she's been brought into the political guile because of the corruption of the PNM. But she has stood to her oath to do her job. And now each and every one of us must do our job. Our job is to vote for intelligence, vote for heart, vote for policies, vote for accountability, vote for good accounts. Vote UNC. Good night.